Hello, everybody. This is the Reading League Montana series on the House Bill 352 that has really brought some great dialogues around early intervention and instruction for our most vulnerable learners, our youngest children. And this is exciting. There's a lot of opportunity in this House bill. And I am Dr. Nell, the president of the Reading League Montana. And today, our partner in this work is 0 to 5 Montana. We are very grateful that they are on this call. They are this wonderful statewide early childhood organization focused on increasing access to early care and education and supporting and strengthening families and uplifting voices, could be your voices, and empowering small businesses and communities. They're nonpartisan and focused on solutions that work for and toward Montana, Montana, and they're dedicated to every child. So I'm going to just keep admitting some people in. If you're not on the panel, or if you're, just go ahead and turn your mics off, turn your cameras off, so then we don't get any backlash happening. I'm just going to make sure that happens for some of our mics out there. So go ahead and turn your mics off. Great. And so right now, I just want to kind of center us on the work that we've been doing. We had an initial talk with some leaders in the field that are front runners. And so all of these are recorded. So if you're feeling like anything I say is something you want to learn more about, please let us know in an email, or I will be sending out a post-event follow-up. And in that, I will have the links for the YouTube channel for the Reading League Montana, or you could just go to the Reading League Montana and see the clips there and on YouTube. And that means that there is a series. The first part, this is a series, and the first one is working with some leaders in the field, talking about basically what it takes to build a program that could sustain and basically you can scale the work. Many programs out there they've been built over time. And for some of you out there, it's a brand new opportunity, but it's a great opportunity. And we want to take it because we want our legislators to know that we care about our earliest learners. We're jumping in, we're doing the work. We are actually using the funding that they're allocating for our most at-risk readers, early readers. So in this, the second one, we actually talked to leaders that were working with our most at risk, our special service population. So there were 3 special ed directors that talked about how they were qualifying students for the early learning programs and what they were doing and how the instruction, how they were was working and what they were choosing for curricular resources. And then we realized, yikes, we need to add some more, some dialogue to this series. So we're going to have a dialogue after this Building Alliance dialogue, not today, in the future, on assessments and also instruction. So we can kind of close out this series with all of those domains. So today, let's focus on bridging our public-private alliances and bring it back to 0 to 5 Montana. And I really am grateful you're here. Caitlin, thank you for joining us. And Alex, yay. We would love to hear more about what your perspective in this work with House Bill 352. And we have Megan Roth from Bozeman, Montana, who's been really digging into building solid bridges between the private sector and the public sector to help us see her pathway. And so maybe if she shows us her pathway, we'll be inspired to try our own pathway in doing that. So here you go. I'm going to hand it over to you, Caitlin.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Nell. And thank you, everyone. It's really nice to be here. Thank you to the Reading League. We're just so thrilled to have this opportunity to connect with you all and to share a little bit more about who we are and how important private-public partnerships are in this work. And we've had some firsthand experience really trying to figure this out at the state level and building and bridging partnerships and really living into our values around partnership and collaboration, and just really trying to keep the focus in on how we can increase access to early care and education for young children, because we know that this is such a huge need, and 352 House Bill 352 is such a huge opportunity for our state. So we're going to spend some time, as Nell shared, talking a little bit about what we do. We're going to then turn it over to Megan to share like her firsthand experience, and then we'll continue sharing a little bit more about some strategies that we would really love to share and get some input and feedback from you all on as well. So with that, I'm going to share my screen. Okay. Hopefully that works. Does it look good?
Looks great.
Great. Awesome. Okay, so our topic is creating alliances that build strong early learning communities and why public and private partnerships matter. So a little bit about 0 to 5 Montana. As Nell shared, thank you again for the nice introduction. We've been around for about 5 years, although pretty much everyone on our team has been working in the early care and education field for a very long time. And the opportunity of 0 to 5 Montana really means that we get to focus in on early childhood policy and advocacy and programs that really are making a big impact in our state, and we get to do that, you know, in the lane of being a nonprofit, being nonpartisan, and really working on strategies that help to both uplift the policies and the advocacy opportunities that have been a huge gap in our state for so long. And we get to pair that also with programmatic supports that we've been able to implement that have really been working to fill gaps that we've seen in our early care and education system. And so our mission is to work for our children for our future. And our vision is that we have a Montana that's dedicated to every child. And again, I mean, we came into this work, we built 0 to 5 Montana because there was such a gap in not having a go-to early childhood policy and advocacy space in our state. So over the past 5 years, we've really been able to listen to community partners, work in close partnership with communities and a variety of different sectors to figure out how we can make steps forward in a way that helps to stabilize and bring more innovation into the early care and education space, because we know from working with a lot of other states around the country that these things take a long time, and it's not a quick fix that we can see overnight. And our early childhood system is very complex. And for all of you here, I'm sure you know that as you work within the early childhood space too, that there's a lot of complexities, and there's a lot of different programs and funding streams that drive those programs. So we're really trying to figure out how we can best support more alignment and efficiencies and more opportunities for us to make sure that all children and families' needs are being met. So just a quick highlight within our policy work, we do a lot of work around system building, around grassroots advocacy. So if you ever want to get involved in the legislature or know more about how all that works, we're happy to help assist. We provide technical assistance and trainings and capacity building supports. And then through our programmatic efforts, our like most noticeable program right now is the Montana Childcare Business Connect. And that's to help support childcare businesses to build more capacity. But we also do a lot of other work too. So check out our website and feel free to ask questions. This is our team, 0 to 5 Montana. So we kind of are split here between our program and our policy team, but there's a lot of overlap, and our programs really help to inform our policy, and our policy really works to inform our programmatic supports as well. A little bit about me, and then Alex is going to present a little bit about herself as well, and then we'll continue on and turn it over to Megan. But again, I'm Caitlin Jensen. I'm the executive director here at 0 to 5 Montana. I've worked in early childhood for a long time, since college, or maybe even before college. I can't really remember at this point, but I got my start working in Head Start, and have worked it more so at the state level for the past, oh gosh, 10, 15 years now, and was in a role of the Head Start Collaboration Director. Have worked really closely with tribal state community partners. And some of these pictures up here just highlight a little bit about who I am and my family. The picture up on the top left is with my grandma, and she's very inspirational to me, especially in these conversations around early literacy, because she taught at the first Head Start summer program back in 1965 here in Helena, which is where I live with my family. And she continued to be a special education teacher for her education career. And then the other picture is my mom. She was a family and consumer science teacher. She recently retired and she taught early education. And then they had an on-site childcare. And so early literacy, early childhood is really deep in not only my family and who I am, but also now as a mom. The picture down on the left, we're at the White House. We had the opportunity last year to advocate for young children and families, and just enjoy being outside. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Alex to introduce herself.
Thanks, Caitlin. Hi, everybody. I'm so excited to be here today. My name is Alex DuBois. I am the Policy and Engagement Director with 0 to 5 Montana. I started my journey to fall in love with the early childhood years in a classroom very similar to Caitlin, and eventually ran that childcare program, that preschool program, but quickly realized that there were some gaps within our system and knew that I really wanted to advocate for some positive changes for the educators in our state. And so I'm so happy to be with 0 to 5 Montana, where I get to do that every day and connect with communities. And I live in Butte, Montana with my husband and our 5 kids. So this is also just very dear to my heart as a mom. And there's our 2 little dogs, well, little dog and 1 big dog.
Okay.
I'm really happy to be here today, though. Thank you. So to kick us off, we're first going to highlight, as we like to do, a community that's really championing, oh my goodness, Bozeman Reads, which is Megan Roth. She started Bozeman Reads in 2021, and it's been such a success, and she has so much insight into partnerships at the community level. So I'm going to pass it over to her to give a highlight and take it away.
Thanks, Alex. So here in Bozeman, we started Bozeman Reads 3 years ago, and the original vision was parent and caregiver education, or actually just parent or family education around foundational literacy skills, and quickly realized that that was just a drop in the bucket. And so started partnering with Thrive, which is our main family support agency here in town, to expand and retool a home visiting program they had that was literacy based called Wordplay. And so we expanded that, and then again realized I needed to go bigger. And so we started doing preschool outreach training. So going to local preschools and training their staff about the science of reading and key foundational components that they needed to include in their instruction. Then I wrote this full service community schools grant, which is this massive federal grant, but which we didn't get, which was kind of a blessing in disguise. But that project really enabled me and my team to start thinking about how to get our pool, our resources. We have a university in town. Thrive is an amazing organization. We have HRDC running our Head Start program, Greater Gallatin United Way running aftercare. So really trying to think about how we could use the school as the backbone organization for all of those other agencies to work with us to improve the lives of our students and our families. And just putting that work together of seeing how that could look was really great timing, because House Bill 352 has passed, and So it's allowing us to open an early learning center, Bozeman Reads Early Learning Center. But we brought in Head Start. And so any students in our seats that are Head Start eligible, Head Start will provide push-in wraparound services for those kids. And we also get like a very small stipend per student, but it allows Head Start to, if you don't fill all of your slots that are allocated by the federal government to you, then those spots go away. So it's a win for us because we get all of the expertise of Head Start, but it's a win for them because they can maintain those seats in our Head Start allocation area. Our program will run 4 days a week. And so we're able to work with United Way to provide the 5th day of care for working families and also to provide after school care. Again, that equity piece is really important to us, and Bozeman is a very expensive place to live and people need to work. So really wanting to accommodate working families. We're partnering with MSU to do some research around the efficacy of our Head Start partnership and also around the efficacy of our professional learning community work, which is really exciting. And then I knew I was forgetting something. We are Bozeman Schools Foundation runs philanthropy to support projects within the school, and they've been funding Bozeman Reads, and so they're actively working to fundraise so that we can take what's available from these federal funds from Head Start and from the state funds from HB 352, but then bring in some local private funds to really make a state-of-the-art program. So that includes like state-of-the-art materials, furniture, etc. But also, we know through the research how important strong family engagement and partnership is at this for preschool efficacy and for just the lives of young children. Like 4-year-olds are inextricable from their family. And so to support their kind of education and upward success, you have to really support the whole family. And so we're fundraising to contract with Thrive to have 2 family engagement, parent educator specialists that will do a wide variety of family support, kind of varying by frequency, intensity, depending on like what that family needs assessment is. And again, that brings us back to the Head Start partnership because they have so many amazing tools in that arena. So we can kind of blend those 2 things together. We just hired a teacher who speaks Spanish. So that's really awesome because our Spanish speaking population is growing incredibly quickly, like way faster than we can catch up with. And so we're hoping that one of these family engagement specialists will also be Spanish speaking. So our approach was to just reach out to people who are already working in the early childhood space in our community. We all share the same goal. We're all doing great work, but we're more effective and powerful together. And so really trying to utilize the school district as that backbone organization for collective impact.
I love it. Can I ask some questions, Megan?
Yeah, of course.
I think, in leading this series for a few times, I think some important caveats have come out of what you said that I'll drill into. But first, Caitlin and Alex, I heard some really cool nuggets that you talked about, which were pieces of offering opportunities for building knowledge. So can you explain a little bit more about how you help build knowledge in communities? Do you do trainings for parents? Do you go in and brainstorm with an early learning center about how to build alliances? Like, what are those trainings that you do?
Alex, do you want to talk about this? Or we also have a couple more slides we could go into as well, but do you want to share about this and then we can elaborate in a little bit?
Yeah, that's a great question. We do a couple of different things at the community level. We both support capacity building. So specifically around childcare and early learning, we come into the community and really are just there as a support to help get community partners convened and thinking through what is our common goal, what do we want in our community for our earliest learners. And we can provide data, we can, whatever really is needed for the community, because we know communities are really unique, whether it's in Bozeman, whether it's rural Eastern Montana. So that's one kind of capacity support that we offer. And then beyond that, we offer Advocacy 101 trainings in early childhood, and general early childhood systems knowledge. Caitlin's very steeped in this knowledge. So we're really flexible in what we can offer to community partners.
That's wonderful, because ultimately there are plenty of systems who are listening that are just beginning. And sometimes we need to have partners to help us build the alliances early with our communities so that everybody's supporting each other. And is this a graphic for that? Is that what you're showing us?
Yeah, exactly. So this is just kind of an example of, this is a slide that we sometimes use with legislators, but also with community partners too, just to explain that there's a lot of different experiences that kids and families have as they're going into our public school system. And they're not all equal or the same. And that House Bill 352 is really offered this unique opportunity for us to think about a program and an intervention that can really help to support kids to be ready for school. And so, as Alex was saying, I mean, we really look at our organization as a way to help follow where there's energy and help to build more opportunities for partnership and collaboration. I'm just going to skip ahead to this slide, but this is just an example of some history around early education in the state. And so we offer trainings, we offer opportunities as to have conversations around where can we help to build more partnership and collaboration. And one thing that I'll just point to on this timeline, so this is going back about 10 years. And as I mentioned before, like there's states that have been, a lot have like universal preschool or early learning that's funded in different ways. Montana's one of just like, I think 4 states now that, up until House Bill 352, this is really like our first state level investment that's going into early education, which is huge. But, going back to 2013, our state's really been working on how we can make access to early education more of a priority in our state. And that takes a lot of community voices coming together. It takes a lot of parents and folks who work within education, as well as advocates from, all over the state to really make sure that this is prioritized. And following the 2019 legislative session, I think most of you are probably aware that there's been efforts to get preschool and early education started in the state, and they've oftentimes failed. And what we've looked at and kind of have helped to identify is that there's been some major gaps in those private-public partnerships, really in terms of different sectors like the childcare sector, the public schools, and just kind of like, how are we coming together to really understand what we want to look at as a system and how we can create more opportunities for kids. And so during the 2020 legislative session, we helped to look at a variety of different state models. And I think a lot of what Megan was just talking about, that level of collaboration between Head Start, between early care and education, between childcare, between the library, the school system, private public partnerships with Thrive, like all that is such a good example. And like West Virginia was very similar. They have these partnerships at the community level that really come together to coordinate. And so we're available to help respond to different models and offer different solutions. But that's really where we as an organization, we can work at both at the state level and then also at the community level to help provide those various supports. And we're just really excited. And we're going to talk here in a minute about the Early Learning Alliance, but we found that both like that partnership and community level communications and like the stories and the impact of this work. That was another big gap that like after everything kind of didn't pass earlier with efforts, that it was like, we really need to be telling the story of these partnerships. We have to be messaging around what works, and we have to be able to create spaces where parents and educators and everyone who wants to see these things move ahead has a place to come to and get information and help align on different messages. So I won't go through the whole timeline, but sorry, that's a long-winded response to your question, Nell, but we can keep going on this, or we can just
Well, I
respond to
think
the
if you go
questions.
back to that timeline, I think there's an important story. I worked in Hardin, Montana at the Kindergarten Readiness Center. Woo woo to Tiffany out there, who is the director of it. But in this space where we had the preschool, the 2015 awarded the preschool development grant. That development grant did an unbelievable job of developing educators. There are teachers that got degrees out of it. They had their school paid for. We really looked at the building capacity in the profession. One of the things that Megan talked about that really, and what you just talked about, telling the stories, A, and B, doing a novel thing that maybe others haven't done, and we need to share that story. So Megan, you talked about creating seats for the Head Start children in a Head Start allocation. Is that a space that you have in Bozeman? Because I talked about Hardin because we had an entire Head Start center close and 273 children no longer got to go to a school. And that was devastating. And it still has not reopened. And that wasn't in Hardin, it was in Crow Agency, but we were all a part of the development grant. And the reality is the Kindergarten Readiness Center couldn't absorb all of those children, but if we could have had the funding from Head Start and flow through a situation, which it sounds like you're doing, maybe there's a new solution to an old problem that we're not seeing. So could you talk to us a little bit more about that?
Sure. We do have a Head Start center here in town.
Okay.
It has 2 classrooms. I think Head Start's kind of approach is we want to support families where they want to attend. And so they really didn't view the partnership as competing with them for kids, which is really great. I do think the stipend that we're receiving from them is pretty small. Like, it's not enough to sustain the program on its own, but I don't know. I mean, the situation in Crow, I don't know if they could partner. Do they still have that Head Start?
Right. No,
allocation?
it closed down for various reasons, but I think what I really wanted people to hear is that there might be new solutions to how we partner. And it's not like there's all this funding that's just going to flow to you, but if we're willing to say it's okay that they're in this building or in your public building, and we're going to support, because the goal is to get children services they need, right?
Yeah, and I do think there's an opportunity, and we would have to check with McCall on this, but there was some conversation had that if the district is willing to vouch for the early literacy work being done in a Head Start center, then can those dollars flow through to a Head Start center? Again, we'd have to check with McCall on that, but there was some conversation because if the school district doesn't have the capacity, but another agency does, like,
Yeah.
I think you just have an MOU with that contracted partner, and the district is on the hook for the efficacy of the programming, the fidelity of the programming. But I do think there's an opportunity to serve more kids through that type of partnership.
Oh, wow, Tiffany, that's quite a message there in the chat. The Head Start has since actually burned down, and the children are without any proper educational support. So you can see why having 0 to 5 Montana as willing partners to have advocacy for our youngest, most vulnerable learners coming into your communities. I can see that as an opportunity to hold a meeting, a coalition meeting, a community coalition meeting, to talk about how are we going to serve the children, say, of that that district area in Crow Agency Hardin, to really rally around the cause, because now there's allocation of funding, and we could really help more children. So I just want to get you inspired a little bit in this work, because this takes all of us, and that's why 0 to 5 is here, just to talk to us about how they can help us kind of keep those dialogues, hold those meetings, build those bridges. So I'll let you take it back over, Caitlin.
Well, that's great. And I'm actually going to turn over to Alex, and she can share a little bit more about exactly that. And again, we're just so appreciative of having this opportunity to talk about how this can work. And like you were saying, Megan, I think that there's some language in the bill around like contracting. And so we can definitely pull up that language and get some clarification on that. And I think maybe even like Lance Melvin with the School Board Association would have some good guidance on that as well. So we can get some clarity around that, around how we can help to build some effective partnerships, because that was such a great example. But I'm going to turn over to Alex, and you can talk a little bit more about the community level partnerships and how folks can get engaged.
Yeah, thanks, Caitlin. I want to start this conversation off by saying, like, we recognize this is new and a change to the system across our state, especially the early childhood system. And I think that is even more of a reason for partners at the community level to come together and really look at what early education looks like locally, and be able to be more efficient, coordinate better. And then beyond that, I continue to identify potential gaps or even opportunities that then, can either, if it's a gap, it can be advocated for. If it's an opportunity, then that's fantastic. And again, that's another area that we're more than happy to come in and help support that work, however you see fit. And the bottom line is that, each of these opportunities are an opportunity. And so we want to make sure that we're not leaving kids out of the picture just because there's a lack of communication or coordination. It really helps to make sure we're serving as many children as we can locally. So again, we just think that coming together as a community is a really great solution, and we're happy to help support that collaboration.
Alex, I think it's so important to talk about that opportunity of ensuring all children are really, we reach them and we reach their families, because part of the House bill ruling is that we are really ensuring a reduction of third grade failure, right? So we're looking at a risk indication system. Not all children will have risk, but all children still deserve a really high quality early learning experience. And that's why having those partnerships in place really allows us to serve all children in different capacities and different environments, through contracts, through alliances, through a flow through system, whatever it is that you're working with. It's still really being thoughtful that all children. I heard this comment come out of one of our local communities from actually a physician's assistant who said, well, then I should just not read to my children or talk to them, because then they'll qualify for this program and then they'll have free childcare. And that blew my mind, because that's not the message of this bill, right? We want all families to engage in high quality experiences, and that not just seeing this as a free opportunity for early learning environments, but that we have other opportunities for early learning environments that all of our children can participate and at some level in a different space. So I just want to kind of point all that out, that this is really important because we can't serve all children. I think Colette, from Great Falls in our first talk really addressed the fact that in Great Falls, they have 800 children going into kindergarten, but only 140 seats in their early learning program. There's great need for a lot of alliances with their private partners to ensure all children get great services.
That's exactly right, Nell. And so we like to use this slide too. This isn't exactly on like early education, but this is from the Department of Labor and Industry, but this just shows the lack of childcare capacity. So if we think about childcare, but also like early care and education, just access to services that parents have. And it's pretty clear that across the state where there's just not enough care and education opportunities available for all the parents who are seeking it and for all the kids. And so House Bill 352 is a start. We hope that this continues to build momentum so that maybe in the future there is more of a, let's say, like a universal opportunity for all kids to have access to that 4-year-old. And then it helps us to think as a system, if 4-year-olds are mostly within our school district system or through partnerships, then what does that mean for childcare and for early Head Start to be able to really maximize their services and supports for that birth to 3 space? But I think we hear that a lot from community partners too, is that there's definitely a feeling from, and this happened even when the legislation was trying to pass a couple of years ago around pre-K, but this feeling like this is going to really make a huge impact on our childcare system. And it could, and it may, and it just depends on each community. But that's again why it's so important to work at the community level and communicate across all these different sectors so that can really look at the data and identify where are the opportunities, where can we really look at enrollment, where can we make sure that we're supporting kids who really need that targeted early learning literacy focus that really aligns with the intent of House Bill 352, where are the kids that could really fit well into Head Start and early Head Start, because it could really help to target kids into different ways. And then where are they? I mean, parents, no matter what, and when we work with parents, like they want opportunities and choices. And so childcare also provides a really important space in this conversation too, because there are longer hours or more flexible times, and they offer different types of early learning experiences as well. So it's just important to look holistically at what's available and across communities, because we have, obviously more urban communities, more rural, and it's just going to look different everywhere. But having those conversations and really coming together to identify what's available, where's the need, where's the gaps, that's really critical. And I'm going to turn it back over to Alex here in a second, but just to talk about like what we're hoping we can learn from this experience too, so that, because this is all new, as Alex said, it's like this is all new territory. And so we have a lot that we can build upon though as a collective group. And so we really want to learn from the implementation process too, like what would be most helpful.
Can you quickly, when I look at this chart, I love statistics, but when I'm reading from this is like, say where I live in Bozeman, Gallatin County, 62% of children or families have access. Is that what it's saying?
Yeah. So this is saying
Over
like
in Bighorn, you only 17% of the children are being the capacity is only that 17% of the children could get early childcare.
Yeah, it's only exactly. So it's only meeting 17% is the percentage of capacity that's of the demand that's being met. So yeah, so if you're looking for childcare, it's not as easily available in areas like that. And they define, the Department of Labor and Industry defines childcare, a childcare desert as like only meeting 1/3 of the demand. And so as you can see, there are some areas in our state where there is more access available, but the majority of the state is we just don't have enough. And so when you look at the experiences of parents, there really needs to be more opportunities and more options for access.
Right.
And Alex, do you want to?
Yeah, and I think I mean, that's spot on. Parents generally across the state, we don't have anywhere that has enough slots meeting 100% of the estimated demand. So parents don't really have a choice. So adding in early literacy intervention programs is going to help bolster the system for families and children. But we're still probably not even going to be meeting the demand.
So another way to say that, Alex, is that if I'm a private provider, I shouldn't worry about my business being taken away because there's still so much demand.
Yeah, and that's like we really work to demystify that because there sometimes private childcare providers do feel like, oh no, I'm not going to be able to serve, I'm not going to get enrollment, and so we kind of help encourage the partnerships to demystify that.
I wanted to just throw something out there. That full service community schools grant for anyone who's like with a LEA or an organization who works closely with your LEA. There is a group of us in Montana. You're able to apply for that grant as a single school district or as multiple school districts. And there is a group of us that are going to get together to see if we can't fundraise for somebody to write a grant for us for multiple LEAs. And so if that's something you feel like would be beneficial for your district, reach out to me. And I bring it up in this context because one of their focus areas is early childhood. And so I think there's like an opportunity there to help, especially more rural districts, to like get some funds to try to kind of make some systems changes. So just putting that out there.
Thanks.
I'll drop Megan's email in the chat for everybody. So if you want more information, you can grab that.
Yeah. And that brings us to the Montana Early Learning Alliance, which is, Caitlin had kind of shown the timeline of the early learning conversation in Montana. And after some preschool bills had died in the legislature, both public-private partners that were invested in those bills decided to continue the conversation and stick together and really formed the Montana Early Learning Alliance, which is still alive today. And for instance, Megan is a part of the Early Learning Alliance, and that is just a group of us, many different sectors coming together to really have a shared vision for the 4-year-olds in our state. And so 352 is one of the areas that we're really excited about helping to share the stories, connect around it, collaborate, build relationships, and then be able to be kind of that go-to for our legislature. But yeah, if you want to add anything, Caitlin, that's kind of the gist.
Oh, I think that's like, we just want people to know that exists and you're welcome to join. We meet once a month. And yeah, it really started out because we even felt at the state level, similar to probably some similar experiences at the community level, that there was just this disconnect and understanding around what these different groups, whether you're in private childcare or in Head Start or the school system, like we all have to work together because we saw it play out during that legislative session where it resulted in us not being able to be successful moving something forward. And so we really wanted to bring this group together to, number one, build relationships and as we've started bringing more folks into this group, it's time that we kind of reset and like continue to make sure that everyone just has that foundational relationship piece again, and we understand like where we're all coming from and how we can be resources to each other, because there's a lot of really good work happening, and we're a small enough of a state where, you know, we don't need to have like duplication, and we don't need to have like there's a lot of things that we can help to leverage, and the knowledge, I mean, even from the Reading League, I mean, when we first learned about this group, we're like, this is amazing. And how can we really work to leverage and uplift strategies and work that's already moving forward in a way that's collaborative and helps us to keep the goal like front and center, that we want to bring more funding into early care and education in our state. And we want to make sure that parents and children have access to these services, because we don't want kids in our state being left behind, because we're one of just a couple of states that isn't prioritizing in a way where we're really putting the funding that's needed towards these types of services. So, I mean, the passage of House Bill 352 is really unique, and we definitely want to see it move ahead. So we're going to continue meeting, and we are open to anyone else joining in our meetings. We really are just looking at how we can identify some of the gaps that are starting to come forward out of this legislation, which takes us to this slide. And we just really, like, a couple things that we're just noticing is that there's not a lot of data that's being collected on like who's doing what across the state when it comes to implementation of House Bill 352. So we're really looking at opportunities for how we can be able to pull the stories, like what Megan's doing, what's happening in Missoula, what's happening in Livingston. Like there's a lot of really good work starting to move forward, everything from like the screening process, like every step of the way to like how partnerships are being built. So we're really looking for ways that we can help to uplift that, so it can hopefully like help other communities as they're looking to implement later down the road. But yeah, Alex, is there anything else just in terms of how we can help to support or what we're looking for?
Yeah, I think stories is number one. I think from what we've heard from some of our community partners or statewide partners is just like what's happening and how's it going and how are they doing that? And Megan had brought up, you know, maybe having a community of practice. So those are things that we can help convene if needed within the system. And we're also very flexible. If there's like toolkits that you are like, this would be really helpful for those that are starting this, we're happy to dive in. Yeah, I think be engaged. We'd love to share your story, help you uplift your story, so we can make this really successful in our state.
Love it. You know, I can see the importance of just telling our own journeys, our story journeys, so we can share how we've gone in that way. I've said it before. We have to go the way to know the way, and then we have to know that to be able to show it. And there are some people on this call. There are people that were on other calls that really know the way in this journey through their comprehensive building of a system. And Megan's story is certainly a great highlight. But I also would love for you guys to ask questions right now. We only have a few minutes left. So if we could pop the PowerPoint down after you grab their information, but we'll send this out. We'll send out information to you. And what questions do you have? What questions do y'all have? Does anybody have a question you really want to ask that would help you build alliances? If you want 0 to 5 to come help you right now, turn on your mic, ask us. Nobody has questions. Okay, well, I do have some remaining questions then. I just really think that when Megan talked about all the work she did around building alliances and flowing of funding in different directions, how long had you worked on this, Megan? I think people need to understand realistically that this is a journey. So could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, 100%. It's definitely a journey. I think the work that Alex and Caitlin are doing, like being in conversations like that, being in your local early childhood community coalition, having conversations with a lot of different people is kind of just how I started. I'm fortunate enough to be working with a foundation that does philanthropic work for me. So that's huge. Grant writing is really tedious and challenging. So I'm really lucky in that way, but if anyone wanted to explore that, I'm happy to offer anything that I know. But this has been 3 years in the making to be ready to launch a center with all of these other community partners. And it really started as like baby partnerships with different people. And we've been able to grow those relationships and grow kind of our shared goals and understanding, but that process takes time. That process takes time. So I think like the initial piece is just seeing who in your community is doing good work and reach out to them, have a coffee, like start a conversation about like, what are you working on? What are we working on? Talk to the library, talk to the health department, talk to Thrive or whoever's in your area, community health partners. I think you just have to start relationship building, and things, more substantial partnerships will come from that organically, but it's been a long process.
That's awesome. And Jackie, thanks for chiming in and letting us know that OPI is starting that community of practice following Summer Institute. It's really important to have that community of practice. And 2019, and moving to New York City area. Oh, there we go. Turning mute on. Yeah, so just don't let go of this. Keep hanging on and trust that change takes time. In fact, coherent change takes a coherent group of individuals doing the work together. All implementation science talks about making sure that if you want to make long-term change, that you want to do it with a team of people, a community of people, and you want to really live into that vision. And that's what will make a difference. If you're going at it alone, you have, it's less than 14% of the work will get implemented in 3 years. But if you go at it with a team, over 84% of the work can get implemented in the same amount of time. So really that's the NERN work, National Implementation Research. Just really think about this. This is an implementation project. It takes a community, it takes leadership, it takes public alliances with private. It takes all of us. And I think that there's one more thing I really want to say. Let down your guard around competition. We're all in this for children. And children need us to really think about how we thought maybe this center was competing with our school, or this center was taking away children and doing these things. It's like, no, we all have a place. All children need a home. All families need a gathering spot. So we want to create healthy gathering spaces for all children, and really know that if we support each other, then more children will be supported. So that's the promise in this opportunity. And I'm seeing some more chats go out. Let me see if, oh, Lauren, okay, let me see. I think you're all doing incredible work. I'm just learning of the SOAR and expanding my knowledge. Okay, good. Running a nonprofit in Missoula. Yay, that's connecting volunteers and elementary students to read together. My mission is to expand, and we'll use this info to continue. Great, Lauren. We're so grateful that you're out there. We're so grateful your support of the Reading League. Grateful, grateful. So what we want to hear in that is that, and Lauren, you know, those relationships down into the 4-year-old group is awesome too. You know, that's just developing trust-based relationships and showing up for children with integrity. They need that time too. So we would love to hear more from you. We'll send out a follow-up email, but for now, any closing comments, team?
Lauren, there are good people at MCPS to connect with about all of this work. They're standing up a nice program, and they're one of the people interested in that FSCS. So that might be a good connection for you.
Thank you, Megan. I'll look into that. Is there a certain name in MCPS I should chat with?
Barbara Frank.
Barbara Frank. Okay.
Or I'm blanking on her name, but I'll email it to you.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
And I just
it's Melissa Lynn.
Oh yeah, I know Melissa.
She's the early literacy coordinator there for MCS.
Yeah.
MCPS.
Yes, she's great.
Yeah, she's awesome.
All right.
wonderful. Thank you so much. I put in the chat too a link, but we're trying to, there's a lot of new groups and new things that are happening. And so we just are trying to kind of keep everything like together if it's helpful. And so I put a link on the chat too, but we're just so inspired by all of you too. And thank you for the work that you're doing. And thank you, Nell, and to the Reading League for having us. We're really excited to be able to partner with you as well. And just excited about the work that's happening. So thank you all for what you do for kids and families every day, and just keep up the good work. It's very inspiring.
Well, thank you. And we will continue this series after this. I'll let you guys know some more dates, but in the meantime, 0 to 5 Montana, look them up. Join the Alliance, Mila, so you can just continue the dialogue. Start considering your collaborative partners in your communities. If there's one thing you do right now, what I do know about the law of proximity, when you learn something and you feel inspired, write it down and take action. And that, to me, says, think of all the people you could collaborate with in your community and just write it down. And then put a sticky note up and say, have I talked to them yet? Have I made a coffee date yet? Have I written an email? Take action. Great leadership starts from within. You have to lead this work. You have to take the initiative to say, I'm going to build these alliances, because if you're on this call, you're a leader. You're willing to grow. You want to do this work. So we're grateful you're here, and we're here to help you. So thank you again. We'll see you later. Have a great Monday and a great week. Bye-bye.
Bye.